Good evening, everyone. This is Varun from the batch of 2017 of MYRA, and today we have Dr. Amrita Dhillon as an economic professor from King's College London, and she has done a Ph.D. from Stony Brook, USA. This is her third consecutive visit to MYRA, and warm welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And how has it been? This being your third consecutive year?
I mean, it's wonderfully coming to MYRA. I really enjoy my time here, and I'm teaching Managerial Economics to a group of very enthusiastic and motivated students. In fact, even after we finished the final exam, some of them came and asked me to explain game theory bits which I hadn't been able to cover during the course. So all in all, it's been a wonderful experience, and I always love coming to MYRA.
To you, ma'am, that game theory was a real value add. And this is regarding the global scenario. Despite the situations in the Middle East, the prices have not been lowered yet, and Saudi Arabia is still increasing in fact. So, is OPEC a way of fighting shale and renewable energy?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, if we think of it as a sort of game, then the interest that OPEC has would be to keep prices low so that people don't invest in shale and other types of substitutes for petrol. So basically, yes, that's what they're interested in there. But the question is how long they can sustain it, because at some point, they already have a deficit in their budget. So will they be able to sustain it or not? That's the question. So that's something we have to wait and see.
Yeah. And what about the debate going on with the goods and sales service tax in India? And what is your opinion on that?
So I think it's a great move. I mean, anything that simplifies the tax system will improve tax compliance. And clearly, this is a move that is supposed to simplify, different types of taxes that states at the moment have very different. Taxes that they set, which affects, not only does it affect compliance, but it also affects the trade between states. So from an economics point of view, you want a big market so that people can reap economies of scale when they're manufacturing, and also you want the state, the government should have high enough revenue so that they can build state capacity. So for both these reasons, I think it's a good measure. There might be some problems with the details, but overall it's a good policy.
And regarding the latest trend of Make in India, and you having extensive research done in textile industry, how do you think this Make in India would impact our textile industry and the global markets where Bangladesh is one of the leading competitors?
Yeah, thanks. That's a good question. I mean, I'm not sure precisely how Make in India is supposed to affect textile industry, except we hear that yes, they make it easier for foreign firms to come in and set up business in India, and maybe this will encourage partnerships with existing domestic firms, which is all for the better, because know-how can be transmitted from foreign firms who are have more experience in business, in this type of business, so they can transmit the know-how better. So that will probably be something that's really good. I mean, in my research, I noticed already there are differences between firms that cater only to the domestic market and firms that cater to the export market. So clearly, it will have some benefits that come from being exposed to more international practices. And there has been a lot of research on management practices in Indian business, and they find that Indian businesses, for instance, they don't do enough data analysis, so they don't do enough they don't give enough incentives to workers and managers and so on, and all these things can be learned from firms that come from countries where they have better practices, for example. And the other thing that might affect textile industry is if they give some subsidies for offering training to workers. I mean, that's another possibility where it can improve the productivity of the industry.
So in a way, it's more of a symbiotic scenario where India as well as the global markets are going to be advantageous with this.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
And lastly, what would be your message for the MBA graduates and MBA aspirants in India?
So, I mean, for MYRA and generally for people doing MBA in India, I think it's it's still a growing need to have good management, because in almost every other aspect of employment or every other type of job, we see that computers are taking over these jobs. But I think there will always remain jobs for management, and managers need to be broad enough to be able to have expertise on on the business that they're handling. And I think MYRA is a business school that gives you that kind of broad-based knowledge that you can apply if you're working there.
It was really informative, ma'am, and thank you, ma'am. There was lots of learning over the course, and it's great talking to you.
Thank you.